Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Adam Mohammed Osman and I'd like to welcome you to the English news program on Somaliland National Television, broadcasting to you from the capital of Somaliland, ENG Sa. Here are the latest developments taking place across Somaliland. Ministry of Foreign Affairs issues press release. Prominent traditional leader of Seoul region welcomed by cultural leaders in the capital, ENG Sa. Minister of Agriculture marks training program for date-producing trees. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a press release today stating that Somaliland abides by UN resolutions, as stated in the national constitution, to use dialogue to end any potential disputes, and this should be protected by those within and outside its national borders. A press release from the Somaliland Ministry of Foreign Affairs today re-emphasized that Somaliland abides by United Nations resolutions as stated in the 10th article of the Somaliland Constitution, as a state that abides through peaceful discussions to end any potential disputes. However, as a nation, Somaliland will not allow the trespass or transgression by others regarding its diplomatic ties with other nations. Therefore, this forbids those that wish to disturb the peace that Somaliland has established by holding illegal meetings that are reserved for the democratically elected Somaliland government. In addition, there will be no discontinuation of the spreading of peace and good governance by the Somaliland government within its national borders for the people of Somaliland. For this reason, the Somaliland government peacefully requests that international agencies, neighboring states and nations refrain from interference regarding national unity and interest issues. One of the most prominent traditional leaders of the Seoul region, holding the title of Garad Chama Garad Ismail, was welcomed by other cultural leaders in the capital of Somaliland, ENG Sa, in a ceremonial lunch held in Mansour Hotel. This ceremonial lunch was held by other traditional leaders currently based in the Somaliland capital, ENG Sa, to offer their welcome to a cultural leader who's recently been away from the country, from a region many consider to be disputed. Sultan Hassan Sultan Abdurrahman Abdillahi, one of the cultural leaders that held this ceremonial lunch for Garad Chama Garad Ismail, said that this is a display of peace and stability in a region otherwise troubled by a people united in Somaliland. Sultan Hassan then proceeded to provide Garad Chama Garad Ismail with a welcoming gift to complement the ceremonial lunch held in his honor on his arrival to his native country. The ceremonial lunch had in attendance the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Basha Mohammed Farah, and the Minister of Finance, Abdulaziz Mohammed Samale, to provide a welcome from both the Houses of Parliament and the Somaliland government. Garad Chama Garad Ismail provided a keynote speech at the event where he thanked the organisers and the participants of this event for their generosity and warm welcome, stating that the people of Somaliland are united through birth and national integrity. Held a ceremony to mark the start of a training program for date-producing trees in the Sahel region. The training sessions will continue the process in a project implemented by the Somaliland government in participation with the United Nations Organization for Food and Agriculture, FAO. The date-producing trees imported from the Gulf states are designed to ensure that Somaliland can now secure its own date resources through a partnership between the Somaliland government and the United Nations Organization, FAO. The project includes the training of the local population to ensure the trees are cared for and produce adequate food resources to cover local needs. The Minister of Agriculture, Farah Ilmi, took this trip to the Sahel region to oversee the start of a training program for this initiative. Minister Farah Ilmi said this is part of the national strategy for the Ministry of Agriculture for the Sahel region to secure their food resources through agriculture, and the encouragement to plant more date trees to cover local needs. The regional and district leaders of the Sahel region were in attendance for this event and encouraged the initiative to provide greater independence regarding food resources. The Mayor of Berbera, Abdishakur Hirsi, also provided a keynote speech at the event where he stated that there are some other regions across Somaliland that also have date-producing trees. The Minister of Interior, Mohammed Ali Waran Ade, took part in opening ceremonies for new roads and markets due to be constructed in the Gebele region in its regional capital, Gebele. The minister took time to meet with cultural leaders of the region to discuss peacekeeping initiatives. The Minister of Interior, Mohammed Ali Waran Ade, accompanied by other state officials, took part in the opening ceremonies for the construction of new roads and markets for the Gebele region, which have been implemented by the Gebele Regional Administration. In a keynote speech at the event, the Minister of Interior said that he congratulates the Gabile district and regional administrations for the start of these important developmental initiatives. The Minister continued to hold meetings with local cultural and traditional leaders of the Gabile region regarding peacekeeping initiatives. Minister Mohammed Ali Warren Adde concluded that the keeping of peace is imperative to development and that keeping promises to ensure all judgments must be implemented so that all people feel its benefits. A new book was unveiled today in the capital of Somaliland, Hargeisa, that discusses the recent troubles of the Horn of Africa, called The Antagonism of the Horn of Africa, by author Ali Abdi Omi, through the Himilo Literacy Organization. This request is made similar to the peaceful way it protects United Nations resolutions as a peaceful state in an otherwise troubled region. The author of the newly published book, The Antagonism of the Horn of Africa, Ali Abdi Omi, took great pride in presenting his book in the ceremony held in the Somaliland capital Hargeisa, while discussing the problems he faced during his preparation for this book and the significance this has for the people of Somaliland and all Somali-speaking people. Author Ali Abdi Omi stated that when writing a book about history, there will be many setbacks that people face that may disenfranchise individuals to discontinue their work, but he encouraged participants at the opening ceremony to take his heed and not become disillusioned. Ahmed Nasri Dahir Hussein, the chairman of the Himilo Literacy Organization, discussed the various achievements of the organization, such as previous publications, and that they are advocates for the literacy of the people of Somaliland. The Director General of the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture was guest of honor at the event and provided a keynote speech where he discussed the importance to encourage literacy over oral communication as a people. Parliamentarian Yusuf Artan, member of the Somaliland House of Representatives, also an author in his own right, praised the author for his determination to complete this book, despite the problems he faced during its preparation. Meanwhile, he stressed that such books need to be produced in the near future to ensure that people keep records of events that take place across the Horn. The Executive Secretary of the Sarar Regional Administration, Umar Mohammed Musa, provided a report on the region in an exclusive interview with Somaliland National Television reporter Amran Afi. The Sarar region, located in the eastern regions of Somaliland, has mainly a livestock-dependent population, and the Executive Secretary of the Sarar Regional Administration provided an insight into the district of Ainaba. Executive Secretary Umar Mohammed Musa stated that the majority of the people in the Ainaba district, which he later confirmed, are dependent on livestock, and about 80% of them are livestock herders, herding livestock such as camel, sheep and goats. He continued to state that the constituents are largely a rural community that travel for grazing pastures and at times water resources. Finally, he stated that the national media institutions need to place greater focus on the issues of people across the various regions of Somaliland to ensure greater inclusion in the national developmental agenda. You're still watching the English news program on Somaliland National Television, broadcasting from the Somaliland capital, Hargeisa. We are the only Somali-speaking channel with an English news program. And now, for our international news in detail. South Korean divers see bodies inside a sunken ferry. 3 bodies were seen in the submerged hull of the capsized ferry as the rescue operation continues for nearly 300 missing people. This report was prepared by Mohammed Salim.
Divers searching for survivors of a capsized South Korean ferry saw 3 bodies floating through a window of a passenger cabin, but were unable to reach them. The Coast Guard said hours after the ship's captain was arrested. The ferry, carrying 476 passengers, many of them school children, and crew, capsized on Wednesday on a journey from the port of Incheon to the southern holiday island of Jeju. Some 174 people have been rescued, and hope is we're fading for those still missing, said to be 273. The divers saw the bodies in a submerged cabin where many of the children were believed to be trapped, but were unable to break the glass to reach them. No sounds have been detected from within the capsized hull, the Coast Guard told reporters on Saturday. The discovery comes stalled the rescue efforts due to strong tides as hundreds of Navy, Coast Guard and private divers scoured the site, 25 kilometers off the southwest coast of South Korea. Investigations into the sinking South Korea's was the maritime maritime accidents in 21 years, based on possible casualties, have centered on crew negligence problems with cargo stowage and structural defects of the vessel. Although the ship appears to have passed all of its safety and insurance checks, the ship's 69-year-old captain was arrested early on Saturday, Yonhap news agents said, after coming under scrutiny of a witness reports that he was among the first to escape the sinking vessel during its 400-kilometer voyage to Jeju. According to investigators, Captain Lee Chon-suk was not on the bridge at the time the sea was started to list sharply with a junior officer at the wheel. Yonhap said Lee faced 5 charges, including negligence of duty and violation of maritime law. Arrest warrants also issued for a junior officer and 1 other crew member for failing in their duty to aid passengers. The ferry went down in calm conditions and was following a frequent traveled route in familiar waters. Although relatively close to shore, the area was free of rocks and reefs. Lee has not commented on when he left the ship, although he was apologized for the loss of life. He was described as an industry veteran by the officials from the ship owner, and others who had met him described him as an expert. Some media reports have said the vessel turned sharply, causing cargo to shift and the ship to list before capsizing. Marine investigators and the Coast Guard have said it was too early to pinpoint a cause for the accident and declined to comment on the possibility of the cargo shifting.
Algeria's ailing president wins his 4th term. President Abdelaziz Bouteflika wins with a landslide 81% of the vote amid fraud claims by chief opponent. The report was prepared by Mohammed Salim.
President Abdelaziz Bouteflika has won a 4th term in office with 81.53% of the vote. Algerian officials say a victory which his chief opponent says he does not recognize. Bouteflika's main rival Ali Benfeliz received 12.18% in an election which saw 51.78% of the Algerian cast their ballots. Interior Minister Tayyip Pelassi told a news conference on Friday. The result comes after a 3-week election campaign that saw a spirited effort by Benfeliz and his separatists. Benfeliz, a former prime minister, criticized the election as marked by fraud on a massive scale. I do not recognize the result. Recognizing it would be complicit in fraud, Benfeliz told a news conference after being declared run-up. Official figures for turnout were down from the 75% turnout for the Bouteflika's last win in 2009. The figures have been described by activists and opposition politicians as inflated. The youngest candidate, Abdelaziz Belaid, came 3rd with 3.03% of the vote, followed by the only female candidate. The 2 other candidates, Ali Fawzi Rapena and Moussa Touti, both won less than 1%. When asked about the accusations of fraud, the Interior Minister detailed the election's lengthy vote counting procedures. Anyone who can outcome all that, I salute their intelligence, Belaid said. The Algerian Commission charged with supervising the election as well. An African Union observer said the vote went smoothly. Bouteflika's decision to seek a new mandate after being in power for 15 years had sparked criticism for those who questioned his ability to rule after suffering from a stroke last year. His poor health has forced him to vote from a wheelchair in the elections. Bouteflika, 77 years old, still remains popular, with many Algerians who credit him with helping to end the devastating civil war and contain Arab Spring protests. A veteran of the War of Independence against France, Bouteflika first to come to power in 2009, but was dogged in his 3rd term by ill health and corruption scandals.
And that's all the news we have for you today. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.